Welcome back to the Glioblastoma AKA GBM podcast. My name's Amber and I am the founder and director of the Glioblastoma Research Organization and the host. Did I just say that? The host of the Glioblastoma AKA GBM podcast. Sorry. Welcome back. Happy 2024. It's been quite the New Year's. I apologize for the delay on getting this episode out. You can hear my voice is kind of like weird. I was super sick over the New Year. Was supposed to go to London for the New Year with my friend. Didn't end up going. I was bedridden, got some like weird reversed flu, didn't test as the flu, didn't test as COVID, but we're back, slightly deeper voice for this episode. We'll see how long that lasts for. Before we get into the episode, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for the podcast miniseries, which is XCures, an AI platform that puts all your medical records and information in one place. So if you're interested in learning more, just visit them at xcures.com. The last few episodes of the mini season, I've had an agenda of like what exactly I want to talk about, and I've curated every single episode, and I've had like a list of questions, and I thought it'd be good just to do like a little debrief and this episode to kind of just, we'll see what happens. I've got no agenda. I have a whiteboard behind the camera, and there's nothing on it. Usually I have like the questions and I have topics listed, but we're just going to see what happens and we're going to roll with it. So just to recap on the holidays, my mom and I typically always, it usually happens to be on Christmas Day, but just because I was sick this time, it happened a couple of days later. We end up going to the cemetery on Christmas and we'll visit my dad in the morning, and it's just always this awkward situation of like, my mom usually like says things out loud, and I don't know if it's like awkward's the right word. I find it a bit uncomfortable because I feel like talking to a wall that my dad is in. I feel like if my dad is like a spirit somewhere, like he knows what I'm thinking. I don't have to actually like say things out loud. Whereas my mom is very comfortable. Like she'll say a few things and I kind of just like stand there silently, like with my dog. I'm like, okay, let's go for a walk. And there's like a really pretty lake and we'll walk around. And that's kind of like Christmas Day usually. Again, this day was a couple of days later, but I always find it kind of like, it's always so weird around the holidays because even though holidays are coming up and you're prepared to either have a holiday season with your loved one that might be currently sick or someone that's passed away, there feels like this void and it's always hard. And honestly, every year I always like hope that it'll get better. And leading up to it, I'm like, oh, I've got this. Like I'm prepared this year. I'm not feeling bad about it this year. Like I feel a little bit better. Like I know exactly what's going to come up. And then like the day of this holiday comes and I wake up and I'm just like, well, like, no, you were wrong, Amber. Your shit's not together, for lack of a better term. And I typically get like really upset and I shut a lot of people out and I don't end up answering the phone. I just like do my own thing. And then a couple of days later it subsides. But it's truly telling that grief is a very non-linear journey. And even still, like going into this year, and that's why I also think like this year is so weird. Not that this year in particular, but I feel like every single year that passes after my dad passed away, like this year is going to be 6 years. Like where did the time go? It's so crazy to think because 6 years ago, I didn't have a life. Like my life had not started. And it wasn't really until my dad passed away that my life began, which is the weirdest thought because every single thing that I've done since then, he has no idea, or, his spirit somewhere, I believe it, like, he knows, but like him on this earth, like has no idea what I've done. Like built a nonprofit. He had no idea that was a thing. Like I moved to New York twice. He didn't know that was a thing. I got my own apartment. Like I got another apartment. I got my first car by myself. Like I've traveled more of the world. Like there's just so many things that have happened since 2018. And it's just like, it's so upsetting that every year goes on and like time flies and I may not seem like that upset about it. But like when I actually take a step back and I think like, I'm like, wow, like he's been gone for 6 years. Like my dog, her 6th birthday was just like 2 days ago and we celebrated her birthday and we got her when she was 8 weeks old. And it's just like, it's just so weird that time is flying. And I get that like time is going to pass on, but it's just, I think it's something important to talk about. Like no matter how long it's been, I know people that have had a parent, like my mom, like her dad passed away when she was 21 years old. Like life does go on and it's just like, it's hard to keep up with it because it's just weird. Time is a weird concept to me and it's just so crazy. I feel like 2023 was gone in the blink of an eye and now we're in 2024 and this is the second week now of 2024 and I'm like, where did the first week go? I mean, just it's been a lot. So that was the first thing that was on my mind for this week's episode. It's just time is flying and I'm not a big fan of it. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and I was just thinking about it the other day, and I don't think I've seen this talked about anywhere, is the concept of dating when you have a parent that is sick or a parent that's passed away. Or maybe even like a brother or a sister, or just like the concept of being in a relationship or just maybe casually dating when someone that you know and love is dealing with a cancer diagnosis, because this is something that was really weird for me. And I kind of wanted to share it in hopes that maybe anyone else that is going through this experience or has gone through this experience knows that they're not alone. And though this is not a dating podcast, I am not the person to ask for any dating advice. But I just thought this would be a good thing to talk about because, again, the purpose of this podcast is to talk about a lot of things that people may find taboo or just not used to hearing about. And so the goal is obviously to make someone anywhere in the world feel like they are heard in whatever situation it is that they're going through. So back when my dad was sick, I was in this like long distance situationship with a guy named Chad. His name's not Chad, but for all intents and purposes, he was a Chad, right? And me and this guy, Chad, we lived 9 hours flying long distance from each other and would meet up in like certain places. And I, as like a 21-year-old, I was like, of course, we're in love. We're in a relationship. No, you weren't, Amber. Anyways, when I found out that my dad was like sick, we had been seeing each other for a couple months, and he was the first person I called after I got the call from my mom where she's like, your dad is GBM, like you have to come home. And I call him and I'm like, so my dad has brain cancer. And he's like, okay, like you should probably go home. Like he had no idea what to say. And I remember feeling so bothered that he didn't know what to say. And looking back now, if I could tell myself anything, it'd be like, it wasn't his job to tell you anything. And he's obviously just not the person for you. But I was like so hyper fixated on this one guy. The main reason being is that my dad had known about him and he like knew that we were like seeing each other. And so whenever I would talk to my dad before his diagnosis, he was always like, how's Chad? Like, how's he doing? And he would ask all these questions. And then so when my dad got sick and I call this guy and I'm like telling him about what's going on with my dad and he had no response, I felt upset that that was the guy that my dad thought that I was dating. And so I felt this like extreme heaviness all throughout like the journey of my dad being sick because he kept asking about this guy. And I was like, oh my God, like my dad's going to die. And this is the guy he thinks that I'm dating. And this guy is like not nice and he doesn't even know what to say. And I was like I honestly still kind of bothered about it. And there's literally nothing that I can do. It's definitely a weird feeling to be dating someone, especially like dating casually, because I think the person that is on the receiving end of like whatever you're telling them might not have ever dealt with this kind of situation before and might not have any idea of what to say. And I think looking back now, I would probably just tell myself like, it's okay that he didn't know what to say and he wasn't your person. And you kind of just like have to let that go and move on. And that's something that's definitely not easy. And I've never heard anyone talk about it because again, like when my dad was diagnosed, I knew no one that had gone through the loss of a parent or like the loss of a parent in regards to like a terminal illness or a cancer. And I remember just being so distraught because I was like, again, super hyper fixated on the fact that my dad was going to die, thinking that this was like my dad was going to die, like knowing that this was the last boy that I would ever like introduce to him. And I was like, this is not how I like want it to go down. And like it did. And I like, it's a really weird feeling that I still don't really know how to process. But for anyone out there that might be going through the same situation, just know that you are not alone. I wish I could have some kind of advice of like, this is what I've done to get over it. It's a weird feeling and I don't know if that ever goes away. And I wish I could be like, what's up, Dad? Like, he's not relevant anymore. There's been, different boyfriends since then. And then again, also like to even further validate that this was like not the right person for me. Once my dad had passed away, I remember we were having dinner. It was around my birthday and it was the first birthday without my dad. And so obviously I was a wreck and I was upset and it was just weird feelings like the entire time. And I remember we were at dinner and I started talking about my dad just because like it comes up. Like you think that you're, in a relationship with someone and you want to be comfortable talking to them. And like, I think there is a certain level of comfortability that comes with being able to share about a parent that is ill or someone that's just passed away. And I started talking about my dad. I was like, like hopefully we can like talk about things. Like I trust this guy. And then I remember he literally like took a glass, like we had wine and he like took the glass and was like, cheers. And I was like, So and like he didn't let me talk about anything. And I think he was super uncomfortable with the topic. And that should have been more just validation that this is like, you can't force a certain conversation with someone that doesn't want to have it. And it's unfortunate if you feel a certain way about a certain topic and another person feels a different way. But I think that's just a reminder that, you have to look for support in the right places. And if you're trying to get someone to talk about something that maybe isn't working, that they're probably not the best person to talk to about it, and that it's okay to not have like this one person that you confide in. So I guess it's just good to understand that like not every single person that comes into your life and that every single person that you open up to regarding a parent that has just passed away from brain cancer is going to be the only person you ever share that with. Like it was definitely difficult, I think, for me getting over that hump of trying to talk about it and sharing it. And like when that conversation wasn't reciprocated and I was definitely like uncomfortable with the whole situation and I felt bad. And there's no reason that I should have felt bad about trying to talk to this guy about my dad. Like he was a person that I wanted to confide in at the time. And although that wasn't reciprocated, like that hasn't stopped me from opening up to different people and talking about my dad. And a lot of the times it is reciprocated now. And again, it's just good to like, as I continue to like meet people and as I date, like if someone is very uncomfortable with the topic, they're not the right person for me to be dating. It's a hard topic, and I don't think that every single person is going to be okay with discussing a terminal illness, especially like something like cancer or glioblastoma or brain cancer, or just anything in general. Some people have like different boundaries of what's comfortable for them. And I think like as you go on and like you meet people, you'll understand and you'll feel like who you can talk to about certain things. And unfortunately, if it's just not reciprocated, which it might be a lot of the time, that it's good to just like have that knowledge that like you are not alone. It happens to every single person, that not every person has the emotional intelligence to be able to deal with death or something as heavy as a conversation as that, and that it's okay. I guess while we're also like on the topic of dating, again, not that this is a dating podcast, but I feel like I've learned a lot of very significant lessons in regards to relationships because of the way that my dad was, or just because like of the way I dealt with him passing away from brain cancer. I don't know if it's like a healthy thing or not. So if you're a therapist, I'd love for you to comment and let me know. But I do, and again, like if you're someone that's experienced this too, like please share your story and please let me know. But I'm just curious, like every single person that I now date, I kind of usually have two things that go in the back of my mind. And again, I don't know if this is right, but it's something that, I don't know, if I'm feeling this way, probably someone else feels this way. I always think like, would my dad be happy that I'm dating this person? Like, would my dad be proud of, one, the person that I'm seeing, two, the person that I am in relation to this person? Like, am I happy? Am I sad? And I found a lot of the times, like through dating since my dad's passed away, like I will literally, if I'm like upset about something, I always tend to go back to this thought where it's like, would my dad be happy seeing me right now? And like, I don't even know why I think about that. It's so weird. And it's like this weird standard that I hold myself to. And I'm like, a lot of the time, I guess the thing is no, my dad would be pretty upset if he was like, he sees your daughter crying over a nonsense boy, right? But like, I tend to do this all the time where whenever I'm seeing someone or like something's going right or wrong, like I feel like I'm always constantly second guessing and thinking about this thought of like, would my dad be happy like seeing me where I am today? So if you're someone that also has that thought, just know that it's normal. Maybe, is it even normal? I honestly have no idea, but it's something that I do. So I don't know. Another thing also that's been on my mind, like going into 2024, is this idea of letting go of trying to control things. And I think us as human beings, maybe all humans, some people are like really good at letting things go or like just like going with the flow. I'm absolutely not one of those people, and I truly wish I was. And maybe it's a character flaw, maybe it's the reason I'm able to build businesses or whatever, but like I have a very hard time not being in control of things. And I find it so interesting that something like glioblastoma or getting a terminal illness, like it's so hard because you don't have control over the situation. And I think as someone, at least with my personality type, like you instantly try to fix the problem. And it's like you try to look up different clinical trials, you try to see what research is out there, and like you try to do all these things to find a solution while this person is still alive. And I found that ever since my dad's passed away, that feeling of control has gotten so much worse. Like I'm always been a type A person. Like I like to be in charge of things, and like I've started a nonprofit, right? Like I started it because I felt like there was something that was missing, and I wanted to be the person to create what I felt like I would have been super thankful and fortunate to have during my dad's brain cancer journey. And as like that time goes on, it still feels like unable to let this like this feeling of control go. It's like when I was dealing with my dad being sick, I could control everything. I mean, I couldn't control the fact that he had brain cancer, but I tried to control like the doctors, the communication. Like I was in charge of communicating with our entire family. I was in charge of communicating with the doctors and the hospice nurses. Like once it got to a certain point, like I was so in control of something that I literally could not control. And so now that he's passed away, it feels like being not in control. You would think that like after going through a situation like that where you kind of just like have to like let things go and like live day to day and like enjoy your life. It's like you would think that I would have this capacity to be like, okay, like we're going to go with the flow and we're going to like let things be and we take things as they come. And I'm not like that. And it's really challenging thought to kind of like process because again, I think a lot of people might feel this way. I mean, like anytime I get sick, instant panic, like I get a headache, not even kidding, like in a 0.2 second, like I'm like, I have brain cancer. Like I get a pain in my stomach. Oh, I have appendicitis. Like no, like this is not good. Like I coughed and I got chest pain today. I was like, oh, it's a heart attack. I guess the purpose of all this is just to say that I wanted to like share my story, or I guess how I feel in regards to control, because post losing my dad to brain cancer, I find it just weird and I guess kind of interesting, but you would think that like after going through such a traumatic experience and something that's so impactful that kind of makes you like take a step back and enjoy things day to day, that it's kind of done the opposite to me. And I think if you're also someone that's going through it, just like, again, if you're a therapist, like please comment, but like I don't know if it's normal, but it's definitely my reality. And it's something that is challenging to live with because it's hard knowing at the end of the day that you don't have control and you waste so much energy and you produce like so much anxiety and your cortisol levels rise. And there is so much in life that you just don't have control over, that it really is so important to be able just to go with the flow and take things as they come and not worry about things that haven't happened. And I spend probably 95% of my existence trying to control things and trying to worry about things. So like, again, this is all just to say and to share that my 2024 goal is to go with the flow and let people do what they want, let things happen, try to convince myself that I am not dying anytime I have a slight pain or ache in my body, and that I want to just chill out. So I will let you all know how that goes. But if you're feeling like this, just know you are not alone. It's something that I definitely struggle with, and I think it's important to talk about. While we're on the topic of 2024 goals, I wanted to share with all of you some goals that I have for the organization. I actually do have this on my whiteboard in the back. So the first goal on the list for this year is to win a Webby Award, which is a podcast award series. And we are hoping that this podcast show, Glioblastoma AKA GBM, will win one. So fingers crossed. I think the results come out Q1 of this year. So I will keep you all posted. That would be super exciting. So stay tuned for that. The next one is that we are having our first annual Glioblastoma Summit this November 1st through 3rd in Miami. And so a big goal is to obviously make sure the summit happens, which it's all locked in, but just make sure it goes off without a hitch, have a great set of programming, and to be able to meet all of you in person, which we are incredibly excited about. Tickets will be on sale at the end of this month, so I will keep you all posted. Another one is to host our first paddle tournament. So we're actually doing that in 2 weeks. It's going to be at Reserve Paddle Miami, and it is a paddle tournament, bracket tournament, and we're going to have a bunch of different brand activations there. We have like 25 brands involved, and we are so incredibly excited. It's going to be a lot of people from like the Miami community, and I'm from Miami, so it's really special. I have a lot of friends that are actually helping out with the event. We're going to have 2 long-term GBM survivors do a little speech, so there's going to be a lot of just very cool ways to get involved with the Miami community and the glioblastoma community. So if you're interested, just visit the gbmresearch.org website, and you can learn all about the event over there. Another one is to be launching season 3 of the podcast, so that's going to be happening the first Thursday of May, and the lineup that we have for this season is so crazy, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear it. We haven't even recorded yet, but I am just beyond excited. Still figuring out all the logistics of recording, but it's going to be amazing, and I'm beyond excited, and it's going to be awesome. Aside from the organizational goals, some of my just personal goals are, one, to get my health and wellness in check. I really neglected my health and wellness towards the end of last year. I was barely working out. I was like stressed through the roof. And I actually started the 75 hard challenge 6 days ago. And I did it like very strictly for the first 5 days, where I was working out twice a day. You're drinking a gallon of water a day. You're following a diet. You're drinking no alcohol, reading 10 pages of a book a day. And I'm on today's day 7, and I'm realizing that that's just not feasible, at least for me. I think people that do it are incredible, and I have so much respect for the discipline that it takes to do that. But I found that working out twice a day is so hard. Again, like I used to do ballet for 8 hours a day, so that's not something that would be challenging, but it's like being an adult and working a job, right? And trying to have a podcast and trying to have a social life and try to date and try to stay like family. It's just and I don't know, and try to cook healthy and take care of yourself and do self-care stuff. It's so hard to get 2 workouts in. I just found that I was incredibly sore and just in physical pain, and not just it was so hard for me to keep up. So I think I'm going to move forward and not do the 75 hard challenge, but I'm going to do like a 75 medium, like everyday workout, which I think we should all aim to at least get like 30 minutes of a walk in, because I think it just helps your mental health so much. And just getting outside and moving your body has so many different positive impacts. So that's definitely the goal. So if you all would like to join me, I'm going to propose this new 75 medium challenge. We're going to work out at least 45 minutes a day, maybe 30. I think we can do 45 minutes a day, whatever kind of walk or exercise, maybe you want to do yoga, 45 minutes of movement a day. Let's stick to a healthy diet, no processed sugars, no seed oils, just sticking to eating clean and healthy and things that make your body feel good. No alcohol, and I think this is kind of an easy one. I don't like actively drink as it is, so I think a lot of people do like dry January, where it's like very challenging for them to not drink. Or I have a lot of friends that just like to go out and they're just not drinking for this month, and like, oh, I can't wait for the month to be over, where I'm like, I have one drink and I have a massive headache, so I'm like, this is easy, like just gives me an excuse to not have to drink now and not feel bad about it. So let's say no drinking, right? It's better for your body anyways. I think the reading 10 pages a day is still a good thing. I think everyone should read. I think it's good for your brain, and it's just, reading's fun. I also would like to propose a new thing into the mix, which is dancing to one song in the mirror of your choice for the day. I think it's so helpful to boost your mood. Just pick one song, jam out to it, 75 days, and I feel like you're just instantly in a better mood. So that's a 75 medium challenge that I'm proposing. So if you would like to join with me, comment, let us know. But that's what I'll be doing for the next 75 days. I think that's kind of it for today. Truthfully, I wish I had more of an agenda for this episode, but I think it's a good, we're getting back into the new year, this is the first time I can actually speak without coughing every 2 seconds. So we're in a good place. I'm very excited for where the organization is going to go this year. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening. So if you want to get involved, just visit us online at gbmresearch.org or on any social media at Glioblastoma Research. And I hope some of what I said, maybe it was all rambling and nonsense, but maybe it really resonated. So I hope that some part of this episode was able to resonate and make you feel like you're not alone, and just provide support in maybe whatever it is that you're going through. So if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us at contact@gbmresearch.org, and we will see you next episode with an agenda. Bye.